Hello, Bible readers. It is Wednesday, August 12th. We are reading from Exodus chapters 11 through 13. We'll finish the plague narrative and then we get into Matthew chapter 10 and into chapter 11. As we're in this portion of Exodus, first of all, as I read each portion in preparation for this post, it strikes me how different it is to read a narrative like we've done in Genesis, a story of Joseph, and it's so cohesive, and there's a plot and characters, and then we get into Moses, and then the plagues with Pharaoh. A narrative feels so different to read and experience than what Matthew, or really any of the Gospels, do, which is, Matthew. This portion of Matthew is just a little saying here, and then followed by another saying, and then maybe a teaching, and then a healing, and it's just a few verses, and it doesn't bind in the same way. Obviously the goals are completely different from each author, but it is striking to me how different a gospel is than a narrative like Exodus. This part of Exodus, what it's really getting at is that the Lord will reign. Kind of like the sun is going to come up tomorrow, the Lord will reign. This is a certainty, and that's what this narrative is about. God is God, and Pharaoh is not. God is God, and no one and nothing else is. Empires are given godlike importance within the lives of people who live in those empires, or we have the capacity to, and we tend to do that. And so one of the first questions is, how at home are we, or how at home are the Israelites in empire? We don't want to be at home in empire. We want to distinguish ourselves against it. And that's what, in the first chapter that we read for today, that's a lot of what that's about, is distinguish yourself, be different from, put the blood over your door. Passover is a very distinctive event where if I am an Israelite, it's there for everybody to see, especially for me to see in my relationship with God. I wanted to read a reflection from this whole section of Exodus. The biblical community of faith is a community of memory, working at its precious identity in a culture devoted to amnesia. The market forces that encourage a consumer consciousness are largely controlled by ideology that wants to abandon the past and forsake the future in order to live in an absolute now. Those who neither remember nor hope are profoundly vulnerable to consumerism, busy filling the void left by the eradication of that extra dimension of historical awareness that belongs to healthy humanness. Thus, when the community says, "This do in remembrance," it is not engaged in a mere history lesson or a simple act of piety. It is rather engaged in an act of resistance against an ideology that will destroy any Passover-driven humanness. While such a critique of the ideology of amnesia is not explicit in this text, there's no doubt that as the community struggles for its memory, it seeks to resist the forgetful abandonment of peculiar identity to which it's always vulnerable. I read that to say, it's not just Passover and this Exodus account it's not about historical remembering, it's about participating in something that's bigger than the now. Because if all we get stuck in is the now, we so easily become consumers. Participating in remembering also then has us participate in hope. And that's a lot of what our Matthew text is trying to get at in this portion as well. Who is Christ? Who is John the Baptist? We can't know who we think they are in our hope unless they are connected to what we have hoped for in the past. And so again, these texts have a lot to do with each other. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.